Let's take a journey into the dark and divine. Encounter demons of every shape and size, from the classic horrors of folklore to modern fiction's original, terrifying creations. Witness the monsters born of cultural mythology, from the ghastly ghouls of Eastern tradition to the bloodthirsty beasts of Western legend. The beauties and horrors of legends, those that live within us. Welcome to Myth and Lores, a journey into the dark and divine. Without further ado, let's jump into another lore. Zombies and ghouls have deep and very symbolic roots in folklore, mythology, and modern media. Both creatures are tied to themes of death, the afterlife, and the boundaries between life and the supernatural. Though often portrayed similarly in pop culture, their origins and symbolic meanings differ across cultures. Origins in folklore. Zombies trace their origins primarily to Haitian Voodoo traditions. In these beliefs, a zombie or zombie astral refers to a person resurrected by a sorcerer or bakar through black magic. The zombie is seen not as a mindless, rotting monster, but rather a victim of spiritual manipulation, a person robbed of their free will and forced to exist in a state of living death. This concept is deeply connected to themes of control, slavery, and exploitation, particularly in the context of Haitian colonial history, where enslaved people were often viewed as dehumanized entities. The Haitian zombie isn't a creature of pure evil, but rather a tragic figure. The person is brought back from the dead, but loses their soul or agency. The zombie is a symbol of oppression, the loss of autonomy, and the horror of existing without freedom or identity. In Western media, zombies evolved into a broader metaphor for various societal fears, particularly in the 20th century. Films like The Night of the Living Dead in 1968 and subsequent works have transformed zombies into mindless, flesh-eating monsters. Their symbolic meanings often centered around the following: fear of death and mortality. Zombies embody a terrifying version of death, where the body is reanimated but the person is no longer alive in any meaningful way. This depiction resonates with the human fear of death and the question of what it means to be truly alive. Loss of humanity. Zombies are often shown as people stripped of their personality, consciousness, and individuality. This highlights the fragility of human identity, raising existential questions about what makes us human and what remains if we lose our minds. Massification and social conformity. In films and literature, zombies represent the loss of individual agency as they move in hordes following a singular drive, usually to consume. This has been interpreted as a critique of mass society, consumerism, and the fear of losing individuality to collective forces or social systems. Apocalypse and societal collapse. Zombies often appear in post-apocalyptic settings, symbolizing the collapse of civilization. They are used to explore the breakdown of social order, the chaos that follows, and the primal survival instinct. They reflect anxieties about societal decay, overpopulation, or the collapse of institutions. The undead as an allegory for disease. With the rise of zombie films and books in the late 20th century, particularly during times of health crises like the HIV/AIDS epidemic, zombies became symbolic of pandemics and the fear of contagion. Their spread mirrors how diseases can infect and spread uncontrollably through populations. The zombie as metaphor. Psychological rebirth. In some contemporary interpretations, zombies can also symbolize personal rebirth, though in a distorted way. The zombie apocalypse might serve as a blank canvas, a societal reset where survivors confront not just the undead, but also their own inner demons or moral dilemmas. Social critique. Many zombie narratives critique consumerism and blind obedience to systems of power. The repetitive and mindless nature of the zombie horde mirrors the critique of conformity and loss of critical thinking in modern society. Ghouls. Origins and symbolism. Ghouls have roots in Arabian folklore, where they are typically depicted as monstrous, flesh-eating creatures that dwell in graveyards or desolate places. The word ghoul is derived from the Arabic ghul, a demon or spirit. In traditional stories, ghouls are shape-shifting entities that prey on humans, especially travelers, by luring them into isolated areas to consume their flesh. Ghouls were often associated with the underworld, graves, and the desecration of the dead. In this sense, ghouls symbolize corruption, the natural order's perversion, and the sacred's defilement. Modern depictions. In Western fiction, the ghoul has evolved somewhat from its origin. In literature, films, and games, ghouls are typically portrayed as human-like creatures often associated with death and decay, but distinct from zombies in that they may retain intelligence and cunning. Predatory nature and cannibalism. Ghouls are usually depicted as scavengers and cannibals who feast on human remains, often living in the shadows and feeding off the dead. This ties them to themes of corruption, moral decay, and the grotesque. Their consumption of flesh highlights the violation of taboos surrounding death and the desecration of bodies. Ghouls symbolize the violation of sacred spaces, graveyards, tombs, and other places where the dead are meant to rest. They represent a profound disrespect for the natural cycle of life and death, embodying the idea of death not as a peaceful end, but as something perverted and unnatural. In many portrayals, ghouls are driven by an insatiable hunger for flesh, not just as a means of survival, but as an all-consuming urge. This could be seen as a symbol of greed, excess, or unchecked desire, representing a thirst for power, control, or consumption that can never be sated. Connection to the undead. Like zombies, ghouls exist between life and death, often seen as a distorted version of the human form. Their proximity to death makes them a symbol of human vulnerability, reminding us of the inevitable end that awaits everyone. Ghouls often evoke a sense of visceral disgust because they embody both the living and the dead. Their grotesque appearance and cannibalistic tendencies push them into the realm of horror, where they symbolize taboo, boldly decay, and the instinctive revulsion we have for death and decomposition. Comparative symbolism of zombies and ghouls. Life versus death. Zombies are typically portrayed as the dead who walk, living in a state of limbo, but they have lost the essence of humanity. Ghouls, on the other hand, are often viewed as living beings who have crossed into the realm of the dead by engaging in a perverse act of cannibalism and grave robbing. Both creatures embody transgression, but in different ways. Zombies as a loss of life, and ghouls as a violation of death. The undead as a mirror of human fears. Zombies highlight our collective fears of societal collapse, mindless conformity, and the unknown horrors of death, whereas ghouls focus more on the taboo, corruption, and the grotesque aspects of human mortality. Zombies often represent societal breakdown, mass consumerism, or the threat of pandemics. Ghouls, in contrast, may be used to symbolize the darker side of human nature, greed, moral decay, and the horrors of abusing death. Ultimately, zombies and ghouls are rich symbols in folklore and modern media, representing fears about life, death, and everything. They allow us to confront existential questions viscerally and offer powerful metaphors for human frailty, corruption, and the darkness beneath the surface of society. That concludes this lore. If you like what you heard, please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next lore. Bye.